Hey everyone, so I'm at my computer now and I am going to show you how you can merge some of these files together so that there's less hoopings. It's pretty involved though, so I just want to make sure that you know to pay attention if you choose to do it this way. If you don't, you could do each of them individually. You could actually merge them all together and then not join threads and just do each one separately but within the same hoop. Lots of options here. So I opened up Embrilliance Essentials. I'm on my 9x14 hoop. So one thing I want to point out that's super important is that before we can do the advent items, we first have to do the one that it's called like hook and loop or something. Let's see, I'm going to just go ahead and go to merge stitch file and find that. So this advent embellishments, you can see it's under cup of cheer quilt and then embroidery files, and then it's in the folder that says embellishments, and within that folder there's advent embellishments. So from there we're going to find that hook and loop one. There it is. So right there, I just want to point this out that we have to do this first. So I'm going to change my hoop size because this is small. All right, so 5x7 hoop. I went to the preferences folder and then to this compass to make it so I can see everything together. So this is, we'll do one of these at a time. I'll show you the process on this, but we have to do this before we do any of the embellishments. So super important just to know that. So I'm going to go ahead and send this to my machine, send to Solaris. File sent to machine. All right, so that one is done, and we will start with that, but first we're going to work on merging some together. So that will be one hooping. Another hooping, so I'm going to go to File, New Page, and another hooping will be the lace, Advent Lace, I think it's called. So let's see, Advent Embellishments. There it is right there. So Advent Lace Ornaments, double click on that. And I'm going to go to this preferences folder and change to a 4x4 hoop. On lace items, you want to have them in as tight of a hoop as you can. You don't want to, I'm not going to merge these with the other items. You certainly could if you want to, but I'm not going to. I want them in as small a hoop as I can get them, plus I'm going to use a different bobbin for these. So I'm going to leave these as is. So this will be another hooping. I'm going to do these probably after I do the other ones, but this will be a second hooping. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Utility, send to Solaris so that I have that one ready. There's no changes on that one needed. All right, now the hard ones. So like I said, just pay attention, and I've already done all of the pre-work. I actually spent hours making sure what will go with what, and so if you just follow along, you'll do just fine. So I'm going to go to File, New Page, and this one I do want my 9x14 hoop. So I'm going to change to this. So whatever hoop size you have, you can group whichever ones that you want. So I'm going to go to this compass and click the H button so that it will zoom in just to my hoop. And then I've already figured out the layout of what will fit. So hopefully you'll find this helpful too. So I'm going to go to Merge Stitch File and Advent Embellishments. And then I'm going to start with the stockings. So this first stocking here, so Advent Stocking 1, notice there are 3 stockings and they are different because of that number, and they'll have different felt applique pieces. So this first one, I'm going to bring it all the way down to the bottom left here. I've already moved things around to figure out what works and what fits and all that. So that's the first one. The second one, I'm going to bring in Merge Stitch File and go to stockings down here and click on this second one, double click on it, and then I'm just going to drag it down to the bottom here. You want to make sure that it does not overlap on that. This yellow line here is your hoop, so you don't want it to go over that. You want to make sure to be able to see it, otherwise you'll do all this work and get it to the machine and your machine will say I can't do it, it's outside of the hoop. So definitely don't do that. All right, so merge stitch file, and then we're going to bring in that next stocking. Scroll down here, there's the third one, and I'm going to bring it over to the bottom right. Okay, and then merge stitch file, and I am going to bring in the mug next. The mug is one of the tallest ones, and so it fits nicely with these stockings. All right, and then the next one, Advent Embellishments, and I am bringing in the candy cane because that's also a tall one. Okay, so this will work great as is. So like I said, you could be done here. You could send this to your machine or bring it to your USB stick and just do one at a time, or you can merge some of the files. And the reason to merge them is a lot of them, all of them, almost all of them, will have a lot of the same steps. So obviously all these stockings will be the same steps, but basically you're putting down a placement stitch for your flexifoam, and then the tack down for the flexifoam, a placement stitch for the felt, a tack down stitch for the felt, and those are really the only ones that well, for the most part, that they all have that except one. And so we'll go over all of that, but you can save some steps. And rather than bringing the hoop on and off the machine, you can save some steps. So I am going to show you how to do it. And again, it's totally up to you if you choose to or not. We will need to change the colors because of all these default blue and oranges. Those would merge together and make a big mess. That's not at all what we want to happen. So let's see. So I'm going to start with the stocking. So you saw I brought in the stocking first. I'm going to click on the stocking. Here it is. So all of this is stocking 1. So the very first one, I'm going to click on this default blue, and I'm going to change it to sea green. First color that comes up. And whatever color comes up for you, I have my preferences set as Filtech as my preferred thread. That's why the Filtech colors come up for me. If you have a different one, you might want to take a note, like write down which ones you're using, just so that you're not trying to figure out, did I use that color? I did that for you on these. So if you have the same colors as me, that'll make it easiest, but whatever works. All right, so sea green is the first one. And then for this second one, click on the color and then click on bronze. All right, so those are the placement and the tack down of the flexifoam. So now we're going to have a placement and tack down of the felt. So this first one, default one blue, I'm going to click on the color and I'm going to click on the next color. We already used sea green and we don't want those to merge together, and that's why we're choosing a different color. So I'm choosing mint. It's just because it's easy, it's the next color there. All right, and then for the orange, click on the color. We already used bronze, so we're moving to biscotti. All right, now we get into the applique pieces. Now we don't want these to merge with the same, and because they're each different colors, and we want a stop to be able to change our thread color and to put those applique pieces down. So I'm going to change them to other colors, and I've already written down what I use to make it a little bit easier. So click on the color, and then the first one that comes up is Magic Mint. Magic Mint. Say OK. And then for this mint julep, click on that. And it is mint julep, but I'm going to just click on here so that it's the official color, just in case. You saw that it changed a little bit, so it won't join with something else. All right, and then the next part is this cuff. So I want to point out that when I do a color sort, it's going to mess this all up, just so that you know. And I've already figured it out, and I know how to move it around to make it work. But that's why I was saying that you could just do one at a time if you choose, or follow along and I will show you how to do it, and you'll become a pro with Embrilliance. All right, so we're on the cuff. So I'm going to click on the color, and we already used Magic Mint. So we're going to jump down here to Cloud for this, the cuff applique piece. It's 1-7, and say OK. And then for the tack down of that, we're going to choose Wheat right here. All right, and then it does the stitching, the decorative stitch around it. And default white is difficult, I'll tell you, because there's a lot of default whites and you don't want them to join, but there's not a whole lot of white options. So at some point you'll see that I change from white, but I make a note that of the color. So it's going to be a little bit odd. But anyway, so we're on default white. I'm going to just click on the color here and I'm going to choose super white and say okay. All right, and then for the number, we're on white again, all right? And like I said, white is problematic here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to a warm gray is what I decided. I'm still going to stitch white, so I made a little note about that, and I'll tell you, sorry, I moved too far. I will make a note on the tutorial of all the colors, but for now, I'm going to do warm gray. All right, and all I did was scroll a little bit until I found warm gray. The other option is you can click on here and type it in, but warm gray, that will work. All right, and then for this, this is when we add the backing fabric and it tacks that down. So I'm going to change this to mermaid, and I have to look for it a little bit on this. I don't know why, but I decided it should be a turquoise so that it'll stand out, so that I'll remember. So actually, let's try this search. I don't think I've done this. No, look at that. That's super easy. All right, that was very cool. All right, so I'm going to say okay. So that is number one. Number one is all done. And now we're going to move on to number two, and we're going to do some of the parts the same and the applique pieces will be different. So same as before, this number one, I'm on 2-1 here. And you can always look up here to see what you used before, or you can just go along with my little notes here. All right, so we're on 2-1 right down here. It's highlighted. Click on the color and sea green and say okay. And then the color for the orange, we know that we used bronze, say okay. All right, and then this one was the wheat and biscotti, mint. See, I'm already forgetting. All right, mint for number two. This is for that the felt piece. And then the tack down of that is biscotti. There's biscotti. I knew it was somewhere. All right, and then we get to the applique piece. So like I said, I changed the applique pieces so that they won't join, because this default one blue will definitely join. So I'm going to click on the color, and then I chose azure right down here. All right, and say okay. Because we already used cloud up in the cuff. See it up there? So I was just using the next color down. All right, so we did azure. This one, click on the color, and then I'm choosing nickel. All right, so those are the two applique pieces that will be different. And then we go back to that cuff. So we can see up here on 1-7, and now we're on 2-7. So on 1-7, we used cloud. This is how you can always backtrack to check your work. All right, so cloud. So click on the color and then click on cloud so that it will join with that first one. All right, and then 2-8, up here we used wheat. So on this one we're going to use wheat as well. Click on the color and choose wheat. All right, and then there's that white. So we used super white, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then this is that one that we used, that gray. I don't remember what it was called. Warm gray 11. So what I'm going to do is a little bit different on this one. I'm going to click on it, and instead of going through all the colors or even searching, I'm going to click on the palette, and then it will come right up. See, because the palette is the colors that are already in our design. So that just makes it simple. So warm gray is what I chose before, so I'm going to say okay. All right, and then we are on the last tack down, which we did mermaid. And I'm going to join them on these stockings, but I'm not going to join them on the others, just so that I have time to make sure that everything is down right. I'm just going to do the stockings in the same for now. So on this one, we're on 2-11, so I'm going to click on this, and I'm staying in palettes because I'm doing the mermaid color that we found before, and there it is. All right. So now number 2 is done. So I'm going to go ahead and close these now that you understand how you can find what you've already done. And then I'm just going to go off of my notes for now. All right, so now we're on number 3. So this is number 3 right here, this Advent stocking. And I'm going to click on that first one. And we know that we want, let's go back to threads. All right, so we were on palettes before, we want to go back to threads to find the ones that we started with. So we know that we started with sea green, so I'm going to click on that and say okay. And then this number 2 for the orange, we're going to choose bronze so that it will join with 1 and 2, these other 2 stockings. All right, number 3, click on the color, and we know that we used mint. Say okay. And number 3, 4 right here, click on the color, and we used biscotti. All right, now we're at the applique pieces. So I chose light turquoise for this first one, right there. Say okay, and then for the tack down, click on the color, and I chose Sea Mist, right there. All right, and then we're back to that cuff. So the cuff, we did cloud, so I'm going to click on the color and click on cloud. And the orange, we used wheat, right there. All right, so that was 3/8. Scrolling down now on 3/9, that's that white. We know we used super white. There we go. And then for that number, this is the one that we go to the palette because it's easier to find that way. And there's the warm gray 11 that we used. And then for the tack down of the backing, click on the color, and we used mermaid. There it is. All right, so now number 3 is done. I'm going to go ahead and go up here and just close it by closing this little minus sign. And then we are on number 4. So number 4 is that Advent mug. All right, so the same thing for the first 2 because we're going to have that Flexifoam and we're going to have the felt. So we can have all of those down at once so that we're not trimming over and over with the hoop and all that. We can do it all at once. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the color and go back from palettes. I'm going to go back to the threads and go back to that sea green, that first one that comes up. All right, click on the color for the tack down, and we used bronze. And then for 4/3, you can always see the number right here. This is where we put down the piece of applique fabric, not the applique fabric, the felt. This is the felt that is on the back, the front of each Advent item. So this default one, blue, click on the color, and mint is the color that we used for that. All right, I hope you're not hearing these dogs. Our neighbors' dogs, whenever they're out of town, or the dogs down the way go a little bit crazy and bark. Hopefully you're not hearing that. All right, so now we're on 4/4. Click on the color, and we are on biscotti. All right, and then we go to the applique pieces. So it starts with this mug, and what I did, let's see, I did baby blue is the next color that comes up for us. So we already did light turquoise, so I just made a note so that I know which ones we already used because we don't want them to join. So we're using a new color, which is baby blue. So I just scrolled down a little bit to find that. All right, and then for 4/6, click on the color, and I used caramel, which comes up right there. All right, and then this is the applique of the whipped cream, and I used dark aqua. So I'm just going to scroll down, there it is. All right, and then we have the tack down of the whipped cream. So click on the color, and I used shell right there because we used caramel before. I'm just going down in order. All right, and then prickly pear, since it's on the default prickly pear, all I did is I clicked on it, and the first color that comes up is prickly pear anyway. I'm going to click on that just so it's the official color and it won't join in case there's other default in there. All right, so that's 4/9. On 4/10, it's on white. So we already used the super white. So if I click on this, there's one other white, 10,000 white right here. I'm just going to click on that. All right, and then coffee bean, if I recall, I clicked on the color, and yep, there's a coffee bean right there. So I'm just taking away the default. And then here's that default white again. So on this one, because we don't have a lot of white options, so what I did is I'm going to change this one to, I used chestnut. I don't remember how I found chestnut, so I'm going to go ahead and search for it. Chestnut. go. There it is. I chose that. So when we get to the machine, I have a little note to remind myself that it's not supposed to be brown or tan or whatever color that whipped cream is. It's going to be white, but I just don't want it to join with the other whites, and that's why I chose chestnut. All right, a different color. So say okay. All right, and then on this wildflower, there's other wildflowers in this design as well. I already made that mistake once, so I'm going to go ahead and change the color. So same thing. This is it's the straw stripes and these dots. I'm going to go ahead and click on the color, and then I'm choosing Monarch, the first red that comes up, and say okay. All right, and then here's that default white again. So this one is a little bit difficult only because there's not a lot of white options. So I'm just going to make it black. And then I'll remember that it's actually supposed to be white. But I'm using black since we haven't used that yet. So click on black and you can see it looks funny. our whipped cream is wrong colored, our straw is wrong colored, but that's okay. We will get it right in the tutorial, don't worry. All right, and then this next one is the little dots. And if I recall, there wasn't any other cashmere anywhere. So I'm going to just leave it. I'm going to leave cashmere because it's not anywhere else in the design, so it's not going to join with anything. All right, and then this is that tack down of the backing fabric backing felt. So I'm going to go ahead and change it. I don't recall if there was a coin somewhere, so I'm going to just change it to Fog. That was the first color that came up. Okay, so now number 4 is done, so I'm going to go ahead and close 4, and we're on number 5, the candy cane, the last one for this hooping. All right, so here we have the candy cane, so same thing as before, we're going to have that Flexifoam and the felt, so I'm going to go ahead and use the regular colors for that. So on this 5-1, I'm going to click on the color and go to sea green, and 5-2, click on the color, and we're going to use bronze. 5-3, click on the color, and we go to the next one down, which is mint. And then the tack down, we used, this was a little different if I recall. So I changed it to biscotti. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and type it in. All right, so there's biscotti. I'm going to choose biscotti, and then after we tack that down, that's when we place our embroidery topping, and that's why it came up in a different order of colors, is because of that embroidery topping. All right, and then we have wildflower. So this is where I was saying that we had wildflower somewhere else. It's on this candy cane. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I think I just left it. Let's see. Yeah, because wildflower's not. We had it somewhere else in the design and we took it out. So I'm going to go ahead and leave wildflower. That's fine. This default white, the problematic default white, I'm going to go ahead and change it. And I ended up just finding flamingo and changing it just so I had something different. It doesn't matter as long as you know what colors you're using that are not already in the design. So I'm going to say flamingo, and then I made a little note that it will actually be white. Don't worry, we won't get that wrong, hopefully, when we do the tutorial. All right, so right now we're done doing all of those colors. That was so much easier than when I did it before, but we're not actually done. So I'm going to show you something very interesting that happens, that comes up very weird for this. So we have 55 color changes right now, 55 steps. So we're going to go to utility color sort, and it's going to get all wonky, just so you know, don't worry. It reduced it by 16 color changes. So click new view, make sure to click new view so that we have that tab. So here's the original one with the 5 different steps, and here's the one that the color sort so that they're all together. So let's open it up and I'll show you what funny stuff that it does. So on this first one, it did great. So see, it's got the placement for the what's it called, Flexifoam, all together on all 5. So that's perfect. That will save us a lot of time. And then the tack down of the Flexifoam, perfect. And then the placement for our felt on each of these, that's perfect. and the tack down of our felt. So that's all great. And then we go into that first applique piece, which is perfect. That's what we want to happen. And then our tack down of the applique piece. And then it keeps going through that one stocking instead of doing the others. And if we were to leave this, let me show you what happens. So we have the stocking cuff and the tack down of the cuff, and then the detail stitch, and then the number, and then look at it, jumps right into the number. Well, we haven't even put our applique piece down on this one, and it's stitching the number, so that's a problem. Obviously, that's a big deal. So, and plus we're wasting time with jumping around and doing a cuff here and a cuff there instead of joining them. So we're going to just move some steps around, and it's not hard. Okay, so we have, let's see, here is our first applique piece and our applique tack down. Since we know that we have these applique pieces, we want to have the other appliques with it, because we definitely don't want to put our number down before we've got our applique piece. So we know that we used azure and nickel for our number 2 applique piece, applique stocking. So on this one, if we click the control button on our keyboard, we can take both of these. So let me just show you. So this is the placement stitch for the number 2 stocking for the applique, and this is the tack down of that. So we want both of these to move up, and we want them right, let's see, mint julep. Yep, we want it right after mint julep here, because that's the applique and the tack down of the first one, and we want these together. So all we're going to do is we're going to take azure and nickel, click both of those. So like I said, I held down the control button while I clicked on both of these, and it makes it so I can take both of them. And we're going to drag them up here to underneath mint julep. If you click on the name here, it makes it so that it thinks you're changing the name, and that's not what we want at all. So I'm going to redo that. Click on the azure and the nickel, holding down the control button, and then if you click on the little design here, it'll make it so that you can grab it and move it. And we're going to bring it right above cloud, right under mint julep. All right, so let me show you. So we have the first applique piece and the second one, or the tack down of the first one, and then the second stocking placement and tack down of the applique piece. So that now we just need the third one, which is further down, and we won't be able to see it. So let me show you something else I learned here. If we close this window, this properties window here with this little red X, it makes it so that we can see more things. Okay, so let's see here, light turquoise and sea mist, those are the applique pieces for the third stocking, and those are the ones that we want up here. Where was it? I think that's that one, yep, right after nickel, because cloud we know is the beginning of our cuff. Okay, so right after nickel is where we want the third stocking applique pieces, and I believe it was light turquoise and sea mist. So I'm going to click the control button so that I get both of those, light turquoise and sea mist. Click on the little picture here, and I'm going to bring that above cloud right up here. All right, easy peasy, right? So then if we look and check, we've got our applique for the first stocking, our applique for the second stocking, our applique for the third stocking. And now those are together, and that makes way more sense. We definitely want our applique piece down before we put the numbers on. All right, so the next one is the cuff. Well, why have a cuff up here and then more down here, and we're bringing our hoop in and out? So let's just bring all the cloud pieces up together. All right, so it's cloud and wheat. So cloud is the placement stitch for the cuff, and wheat is the tack down of the cuff. So we want cloud and wheat, and here is another cloud and wheat. So I'm going to click on cloud. Oh wait, that's the second one. Let's keep them in order. There's the second one. This is the third one here. So this is the second one, cloud and wheat. So if I click the control button on my keyboard, I can take both of these by clicking on the picture over here, and I'm going to bring it up to underneath this cloud and wheat. All right, so we have the first one, the second one, and then the third one is down here. So again, click on that cloud, click control, and click the wheat, and then click on the photo part over here, and then we're going to bring it up to this other cloud in wheat. There we go. So we have cloud wheat, cloud wheat, cloud wheat. Perfect. All right, so then we have that decorative stitch of the cuff. So we want all of those together. So I'm just scrolling down here to find the others. So here's the super white. We want the super whites all together. So here's one. So if I click on that and then click on the little picture here, bring it up to the other super white. And then where's the other one? Right there. Click on the super white, click on the picture to be able to move it. And we have the cuff decorative, cuff decorative, cuff decorative. Perfect. And then we've already got the numbers all together. So that's perfect. And then we have the tack down of these three. Perfect. That's wonderful. All right. And so all of those are done, 1 through 25. Now let's check the mug. So we have the placement for the applique there, because we already did the Flexifoam and the felt. So now we're just working on the applique piece. So here's the first placement of the applique piece and the tack down, and the placement and the tack down of the whipped cream, and then the decorative stitch and that white detail, the outline, and then we have the satin stitch of the whipped cream. So see, if we hadn't changed that white, it would join, it would put the whipped cream above the mug, and you want the whipped cream on the top. So it makes it, it changes it, and so that's why we changed the colors, and we're moving things around on the stockings. This I don't think we need to move around, but because we changed the colors. All right, so then we have the straw and the straw detail, which will be white but currently shows black, and then the little candy sprinkles, and that's the backing fabric for the mug. All right, and then we're on to the candy cane. The candy cane, we already have the placement and the tack down for the Flexifoam and for the felt. So then we've got, after we put, I think we do the red first. No, I think we put the that topping down, and then we do this red. I'm not sure, but we'll go over that at that point. So that's why we've already got part of it done, because we did the placement and tack down earlier. So now we just have the stripes, and then we have the outline, which will be white, but we used flamingo so that it wouldn't join. So those are all perfect. We did it. It wasn't that hard, right? Because I already did it. But yeah, it was a little hard the first time. All right, so I'm going to go to, I'm going to save it, file, save as, because we made a whole bunch of changes. Save stitch file as. And let's see, I'm going to bring it to my cup of cheer quilt, embroidery files, Pez, and it is the embellishments and Advent embellishments. All right, so I'm going to say, I'm just going to say embellishment hoop 1. All right, it's got 5 of the designs together. And say save. All right, now I want to remind you before that save, actually, if you, what was it, preferences, and then the jumps overlays, because we moved so much around, if you don't have this check marked, it can make changes since we moved things within the other part of the design. So I just took this off, and it makes it so that it doesn't cause any problems. It doesn't remove the overlays. It keeps it exactly how we've planned it. So just have these two unchecked. All right, and say okay. All right, and then I'm going to send this to my machine. Utility send to Solaris. Say okay. File sent to machine. All right, so 5 of our pieces are done. Now we're going to move to the next one, and if I recall, this one wasn't too bad, maybe just because now I'm getting the hang of it. All right, so file, new page, and I'm still in my 9x14 hoop, and that actually works really well, so I'm going to keep that, and then I'm just going to show you how I brought in the next, I think it's 6 designs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 designs, and this will be the last of them. So I was able to get them all to fit, so I'm going to just show you how I did that. So merge stitch file and back to the Advent embellishments, and the first one is the tree right there. Double click that, goes to the center, and I moved it all the way up here to the top left. All right, and like I said, you want to make sure you're not over that hoop at all. All right, so that's the first one. The next one is the heart. Merge stitch file, nope, it's not embellishments, Advent embellishments. And which reminds me, we have one other hooping to do. Oh, so we're going to have 5 hoopings, not 4. I was wrong, because there's one other part. All right, so then we're looking for the heart right there. Double click on that, and I'm just going to click on the stitching and move it all the way up here. Okay, and then merge stitch file, Advent embellishments, and I'm looking for the snowman, cute little snowman. All right, I'll move him in a bit, but for now, just over there. All right, and then merge stitch file, Advent embellishments, and we're looking for the holly leaf. I'm going to scroll down so you can see it right there, the holly. Double click on that. And then for this one, I brought it to the center and all the way over. I think that's where I had it about. All right, and then the next one, merge stitch file, Advent, and I'm looking for the bird right there. And click on the stitching and move him all the way down to the bottom left. All right, and then merge stitch file, Advent, embellishments, and we need the bow. Okay, I'm gonna bring that up just a bit. Okay, so this one's too close. You want to be able to have enough space, and I just will move it over a bit. Okay. So there's how this last 6 fit in well, and then same thing as before with the colors. We're just going to change them up real quick. This one, if I recall, it wasn't as hard. They didn't move around as much or something. I don't remember now, but all right. So we're going to start with the tree over in the upper left. So the very first one, default one, blue. This is the placement for the Flexifoam. This is going to be a pain to cut. Look at all of this, but it's going to be so pretty and it'll be worth it. So click on the color. Oh, by the way, so our properties folder or window is closed now because we closed it earlier. I think we went to, not window, view. There it is. So view toolbars and see that properties window that's not checked. We just click on that and there's our window again. All right, so then click on the color, and the first one that comes up is sea green, and say OK. And then this is the tack down of that Flexifoam, and we're using bronze. All right, and then the felt, so click on the color, and we're going to use mint. And the next one, we're on 1-4, click on the color, and we'll use biscotti. And then we go into the applique pieces, and those we don't want to join. So I chose specific colors. So click on the color, and I chose Magic Mint, the third color down. And then for the tack down, I chose Wheat, third one down again. All right, and then Coffee Bean, if I recall, I just clicked on the color and I was able to, yep, the first one is Coffee Bean, just to make sure that it's the official color and not a default color. All right, and then this one. This is the applique piece for the fabric of the tree. So click on the color, and I chose Cloud right there. And then the tack down, I used caramel. I made caramel popcorn this weekend. It was so yummy. Oh my goodness. All right, and then Prickly Pear. If I recall, I clicked on the color. Yep, and the first one that comes up is Prickly Pear, so it's the official color. All right, and then the back outline. So I don't want these all to join, so I used different colors. Excuse my phone. All right, and then for the default white, I'm going to click on the color, and then I chose Mermaid, so I'm going to just search for it easily that way. I love that search feature. That's awesome. And say okay. All right, so the tree is already done, so I'm going to close that. All right, and now we're on the heart. So the same thing as before, we're going to click on the color, and the first one is sea green. The second one is bronze. The third one, C23, is mint. We used mint. And the fourth one is biscotti. All right, and then we're at the applique piece, and I used azure for this right there. And then for the tack down, I clicked on the color and used Tango. I don't think there was any other pink grapefruit, but just in case, so I'm choosing Tango. All right, and then for the number, so that default white is always an issue because there's just not a lot of options on white. So I used brunette is what I did. I chose to use brunette, and then when we get there, when we're actually stitching it, we will use white. What happened? Oh, it's right there. Sorry, my mistake. So right there. So underneath the whites, I chose brunette, but we will still stitch it in white or whatever color you choose. All right, and then for the outline, click on the color. This is to add that backing, and I chose basil. Click the color and say okay. All right, and then the heart is done. All right, and then we are on the snowman. So the very first one, as usual, the same. So we're on sea green for number 1. This is 3-1. 3-2, we are on bronze. And then for number 3, it was mint. Number 4 was biscotti. All right, and then pumpkin seed. I don't recall, did I change it? See if I click on it. Yes, so there's an official pumpkin seed. I think there is another pumpkin seed down here, but I changed that color so that it won't merge. All right, and then for the black, I think I made it storm. Yep, the first color that comes up is storm. All right, and then for the default white, we want to take that away. This is for that background when we add the backing fabric. So I chose Sea Mist. So I'm just going to type that in the search, and there's Sea Mist, and say okay. Okay. All right, so the snowman is done. Halfway done with this one already. All right, now we're on the Advent Holly. So I want to point out the holly does not have Flexifoam in it. I think because there's going to be a button that we sew on there, and it would be an awful lot to sew through that. But either way, there's no Flexifoam on this one, so it's a little bit different. The colors will be a little bit different because we're not going to join with the Flexifoam pieces. So on number 1 here, we're going to jump to mint, the second one, because this is for our felt piece, not for Flexifoam. And then the second one is going to be biscotti. All right, and then this third one, this is our applique piece. So I chose light turquoise right there because we already did azure, so now we're on light turquoise. All right, and then the tack down, click on the color. I chose antique because we already used prickly pear, so now we're on antique. And then this default 15 pink. Isn't this funny? Default 15 pink, and yet it's green. I don't know why that is. That's kind of odd. So I clicked on the color, and I chose penny, the next color down. All right, this is just to join and not join colors. It's not because that's the colors we're going to use on our machine. All right, and then this last one, this is that backing fabric, and I clicked on it, and I clicked on sprout. So I'm going to just search for sprout. There it is, and say okay. All right, so number 4 is done. So now we're on the bird, and the first one, same as usual. Click on the color, and we chose sea green. And number 2 is bronze. And forgot to rejoin those, I'm thinking. Anyway, this one we did mint and biscotti. All right, then we're at the applique piece for the bird. We're on number 5. All right, so I chose baby blue. Scroll down a little bit and it's after the light turquoise right there. And for number 6, I chose shell right there. And then mint julep. I think I just made an official color. Yep, right there, mint julep. And then here's another default one, blue. This is for the hat applique. So I clicked on the color and then I chose dark aqua. So if you scroll down, there it is. And then for that orange, sand dune right there at the bottom. All right, and then pink grapefruit. I changed it to cherry right there, the first color that comes up because we already used tango. All right, and then we are at Tidewater. I think I made an official color. Yep, Tidewater. And then number 12, we are at nickel. Right there, the third one down. And then for number 13, 513, this will be black, but I think we had black. I don't know if we used black before, but just in case, I changed it to mossy, but I made a little note that it will be black. But I used mossy so that it won't join with others. Now this pumpkin seed we did use before, and so we need to change it, and I chose yellow whisper, the next one down. All right, and then for the last part of this one, it's the backing fabric. Click on the color, and I chose jungle. So I'm just going to search for jungle right there and say okay. All right, so number 5 is done. And then we're on number 6, the last one. So the same thing for the bow. Click on the first one, and it's sea green. The second one is bronze for this orange, 6-2. For 6-3, we're on mint. 6-4, we are on biscotti. And then for 6-5, I used marine. So you have to scroll down, it's right there. And then for 6-6, I used sand. Scroll down. There it is, after sand dune. All right, and then 6-7, I used Hawaiian blue. So you just scroll down right there after marine, Hawaiian blue. This is for the applique pieces of the, it looks like applique pieces, it must be, yeah. All right, so 6-8, I used military gold. Scroll down, there it is, under sand. And then wildflower we already used, so I clicked on the color and I chose cranberry. And then for the last one, the backing piece, I chose Irish Spring. There it is. Say okay. All right, so that is done. So now we just need to join them so that we can get at least those first and second steps where we don't have to do them again. So utility, color sort, we currently have 57 steps and we're down by 18. Click new view so that you can see. It opens a new tab here so that we can see them all together, and let's just check how it did. All right, this first one is the placement of the Flexifoam, and notice that that one is not highlighted, all the others are right, so that's perfect. And the second one is the tack down of that Flexifoam. The third one is the felt, and it's got all the pieces now, so that's perfect. And the tack down. And then we jump into the tree pieces, and let's see. Good, good, good. All right, and then we're on to the heart with the heart pieces and the number. Oh, and that's the backing already. So perfect, that's perfect. All right, and then the snowman, we have the nose and the eyes and the backing, perfect. And the holly leaves, the applique and the stitching and the backing, right? Yep, perfect. All right, and then we're on the bird. We have the applique of the bird, the tack down and the stitching, the hat and the stitching and more stitching. Perfect. All right. Yay. All right. And then the bow, the applique pieces, and the stitching and the back fabric. Perfect. All right. So those all worked out exactly perfectly. No problem at all. So do a file, save stitch file as, and what did I name it? Embellishment Hoop 2 is what I'm calling it. Save, and then utility, send to Solaris, file sent to machine. All right, so those are done. There was one other part. Oh, I remember. All right, so if we go to file new page, I almost forgot this part. I'm surprised. All right, and then merge stitch file. And this one, we're going to go to the embellishments that are not the advent pieces. And we need to do all three of these. I almost forgot about them. So it doesn't really matter what order. Bring the first one up here. If I recall, I kept in my 9x14. And then that's the first one. And then the second one is here, the holly leaves. Double click on that and it goes right to the center. We'll leave it there. I think you could fit this in an 8x12 too, if I recall. And then merge stitch file, and we need to bring in that last one, which is the dimensional tags. All right, and I put them in this order because the first two we will use, I believe it was a green bobbin, and this last one we use white or red, I don't recall, probably red. So anyway, I kept them this way and I did not merge them all. I'm just going to do each one separately. You can do it however you want, but with the bobbin changes, I thought that would be the easiest. Whoops, just zoomed in a whole lot. So, all right, so that works really well. This is just an easy one. All three of these are quick stitch outs too. It's basically a placement stitch and then put down your fabric and then a tack down, and that's about it. This one had a little bit more to it if I recall. All right, so I am going to do a file, save stitch file as, and I'm going to name this one, and let's see, I should have named the other ones Advents, but I'm going to say embellishment pieces. I don't know. Whatever is going to make you remember that we want to make sure to do this also. And I'm just going to name it embellishment pieces. That works. Okay, and then utility sent to Solaris. All right, so we have 5 hoopings that we need to do still. So we have this one that has to happen first, and then I will probably do this one last. This is the lace ornaments, and then this is before we joined it. There it is, all joined, and then this one all joined, and then we have these last pieces. So we're getting really close. Lots more stitching to do, but this is really the last step, and then we have to sew pieces on, and I'll go over that as well. So anyway, let's get stitching.